Okay. Okay, so we're starting. Ladies, if you can please grab a seat. Thank you very much. And we're getting off. So, the second part of our session, thank you. The second part of our session today is going to be focused on a topic that I personally think is one of the most critical topics in cybersecurity, and I'm not being sarcastic. I know this entire morning I was only joking around, but now I'm being serious for a second. As an industry, we matured. Wow. As an industry, we've matured. We started off by building technologies that were designed primarily for the purpose of blocking attacks. So I'm talking about firewall technologies, antivirus technologies, and so on. Then we came to realize that that's not enough, and we need to also do detection. And then we realized that's not enough, and we also need to do monitoring. And I'm hearing a lot of noise, I'm sorry. And then the industry kept maturing and maturing and maturing until we reached the point where we understood that everything we do pretty much is futile. Because it doesn't matter what we do and how much effort and resources, how many resources we invest, we're always going to find ourselves breached. Can we close the door, please, in the back? Anyone who wants in is welcome. Anyone who wants to talk outside is also good with us. Thank you very much for that. So, what do you do when you have to assume not only that you're going to be breached, but that most likely you've already been breached? And that's where this big field of incident response came in, and we started building methodologies and practices for doing effective incident response. So this is going to be the theme of the second part of our lectures today. And with that, I want to invite on stage my good friend, Gadi Naveh, who does the threat emulation? No, threat, yeah, close enough? Advanced threat prevention. Okay, I'm sorry for that. And you gave me a card. So I want to invite Gadi to describe a case study and show us what we can learn from that. So Gadi, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Tom. Indeed a good friend. I will start with a nostalgic note as my previous lecturer. I also started learning programming here in Tel Aviv University in Noar Shocher Mada, around the same age. And it was back then about artificial intelligence until there was the artificial intelligence blockage, which is currently open with deep learning, etc. And I won't dive into that. But what I'll show here today, or I speak about today, as a talk I gave on InfoSecurity Europe in London 2 weeks ago. It describes a real case study of one of our customers who contacted us after being infected and malware was spreading in his network, and what we can learn, what was done there, and how you should respond in such cases. Because we're here in Cybersecurity Week, I'd like to also take the opportunity and discuss some Israeli notes specifically about, I'll start with Checkpoint. Is my employer is a security company, a pure player of security, one of the biggest pure players in the security field, is located in Israel and is tapping on the Israeli intelligence. And what specifically I do in Checkpoint is in the Sandblast area, sandboxing of threats and exploitation. And we recently, a year ago, acquired Hyperwise, which is also an Israeli startup based here that build a unique technology of CPU detection of rope exploits or exploit in the CPU level. And it was just now, a week ago, released that Intel and Microsoft built a new specification describing the hardware-based protection of return-oriented programming and jump-oriented programming detection sorry that I won't dive into that. I have a separate session in a month or so in Black Hat, and I'll describe it there. But they also stated that software level detection of exploits has a limited success, and they moved forward with hardware detection specification, with shadow stack, etc. But it's great to be here in Israel with everything close together, where we can tap on the innovation of Israel. So that's the note about I was looking forward to give in Cyberweek. So I start with the case. So this specific case started with the quest of knowledge, and one of an offshore branch for one of our customers, enterprise customers, who didn't deploy our advanced protections. He had an offshore employee searching for the Bible, and he downloaded an application for searching and getting educated and scholar about the Bible. And the first thing he learned, of course, is one of the 7 sins is greed. He didn't want to pay for the application. So he went and downloaded a key generator. He said for Google, usually we always state the end user will be tricked by social engineering, etc., and other techniques, and he will click those unsolicited links and files. In this case, it was even worse. He had sort of an ill intention. So you have to assume not to trust fully that the employees will choose the right choosing, or they have the security knowledge. What he downloaded with the key generator was a very malicious malware, very infective and proliferating malware named Steganography or Gatak. And it had many different forms, or it was polymorphic. Every installation of it created a new instance, or spawned a new instance that looked differently, couldn't be found with the same antiviruses technology, what we call polymorphic. It had very aggressive anti-reverse engineering techniques. It even had a module to upload the IDA tool, or static analysis tools that are used commonly by reverse engineers, and upload to the attacker. In order to use so, it probably used it to reverse engineer antiviruses, as was in this case. What gave it the unique name of Steganography is the Steganography. What's Steganography? It's actually the disappearing ink style of attack. Each of these images you see here was actually part of the command of control of the attacker. What the malware does when it downloads the image, it takes every bit of every pixel has a bit representation, byte representation, and the last bit can be taken out of the picture and concatenated, and together it builds in the data. So a regular user won't see there's a bit randomly of the last bit here, but this data can be extracted and used for the attacker after decrypted. This data can be stored on legit command controls, or on legit platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and can be detected by regular signature-based or URL filtering technologies. So once the user got infected, and I would like to quote here the head of the NSA Tailored Access Operations, who gave a very interesting talk at the USNIC conference, the enigma about how the attackers see their opponents, how they poke and probe, and how you should defend from them. And he described most organizations like this, as they had a big castle wall, hard, crunchy outer shell, soft, gooey center, meaning once you're inside the organization, there's actually infinite numbers to move throughout the nodes. And that's exactly what happened in our case. There was the patient 0 got infected, and then it moved to another patient, or another infection inside the network. In our case, it used the admin dollar share, which was open in this organization. But there's the pass the hash technology was used, where the malware takes from the memory the hash of the authentication and use it as a token or creates a golden token. There's lots to know about pass the hash technology and how to implement it. It's not a single switch on piece to protect against it, and I suggest you go and learn if you're an IT administrator. But basically it means that every computer that the administrator logged in, the hash can be taken from and authenticated to other machines and infect other machines. And indeed, in our case, that's exactly what happened. It moved on from the branch, and eventually we got the admin got an alert, and he called us and said, okay, I see all of my computers are starting to communicate with a single IP in Australia. It was a legit IP, but then we had to come in. And we kind of understood it's odd, and we started investigating. We found the first incident that communicated with this IP and got the patient 0. And we understood what we were up against and blocked the first command control. But it was a real incident response case. We in the office had to develop new technologies. What we put inside was our Sandbox agent. It's a real-time event monitoring or collecting system working as a honeypot, and we could have seen the attack move on through the network. And then from that, take and build remediation and response process. So it got worse in this enterprise. At first, they didn't know how to respond. It bypassed the antivirus, so they didn't have any means to respond. And also, our intelligence sources told us the domain was offered as a DDoS framework in the underground for payment. The attacker tried to monetize on it. Maybe if you remember that time, Steganography was known to download ransomware. We didn't get to that phase, but we were in the phase that we were looking for monetizing. So how the Sandbox agent or the endpoint forensics actually helped us. So what you can see here is the diagram, the real-time diagram that's created once an infection point is observed. And you can see that the first infection point is not the one that communicates to the command control. And if you just see it as an incident, you will know how to remediate and go back to the real infection point or the persistent executable on the system. So you can see here the run-DLL process that was executed by the malware was the one communicating out. And by this tree, building the tree, we could have understood back what is the infection point and remediate it. We can, in real time, create remediation scripts for the executable, etc. But we still had to develop ways to make it non-infectious. As you said, it's important to know that you will be infected, but your antivirus can be your last line of defense. You have to put real stuff or new stuff in place in order to block a real-time attack moving inside your network. So what we did see in our Sandbox is that though it's polymorphic and didn't have the same signature or the same outer static indicators that you can see, and the strings were opened in memory, etc. And so there weren't any static strings that we can see, but it always communicated with the same command control. And using this, we could have blocked it when it tried to move inside the network. And also it has the same other intentions as other malware, where a malware always wants to make persistency. So if you can distinguish the behavior of trying to make persistency without being notified, etc., you can know it's a malware and block it on site. We use that to go back and find other command controls, and we could have contained the attack by blocking the command controls, cleaning the machines, and make a new separate network. bringing into this network the benign or the non-infected new machines. So I will summarize with the successful factors for this attack and what made it so attack and how we should build our incident response process for it beforehand. So you have to assume that your employees will be tricked eventually, even if it's not their ill intention, they might be tricked. This is the bread and butter of attackers. They say, I just heard yesterday a quote saying, give a man an O day, he will penetrate someplace for one day, teach a person to fish, he can penetrate everything he wants. So you have to assume employees will be tricked. You have to segment your network. If you can assume one place will be infected, or you have a DMZ, or your customer focus, or your HR should be separated from other places. Also, you have to put in place user access control or current restrictions. So admin, there's no omnipotent network admin that can infect the whole network once this password or these crown jewels are stolen. Also, you can't put antivirus as your last means of defense and just look for forensic once you're infected. You have to plan ahead and respond to being infected. You have to put real-time event logging in place and have respond and remediation plans at time. And for that, you have to bring on the management. Because, and I'll show this last slide that helps to get the management involvement. Other than stating the target, the CEO can be put down from his position due to breaches, but it's actually cost-worthy, because if you think about it, all the pre-infection phase do not generate any cost. Only when you start getting infected and you have to start remediating, bring response, everyone's alert, all the vendors are calling in, it starts to get costly, and you buy stuff in real time in order to mitigate it and not prepare ahead. And if you don't have remediation in place, and you want to be here that you don't get infected. We in Checkpoint say prevention. That's our goal. We don't think that you can't be 100% infected, but our goal and the aim of security companies, vendors, should be to prevent and block it, because the costs are getting exponential high once you're getting infected, and you have to start planning to respond and remediate. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'm here for this session and for the B-sides as well. We're a great crowd.